everyone, and welcome to the AC Spotlight. Today I'm joined by Sullivan, right now the GM of Sword and Spoon.
Hi, everyone.
Excited to have you here. Hey, Van, real quick, what is your GM snack choice?
Ooh, that's a tough one. When I started playing, my first GM made these like maple bars. They're like a pastry with like maple frosting on them. And whenever I can make those for myself and give them to my table, that is my GM snack of choice still.
You make your GM snack of choice?
Yes.
That's rad. That's
I
so
love
cool.
baking. Whenever I can share it with my table, that's fantastic. And even though I can't do it for like online games, I have a few in-person games that I've done that I've been able to do it for.
There's that like joke, or at least that sort of that courtesy that when you are a player and you're going to someone's house, you bring the snacks, you know. But you flip that. You're like, no, you're coming to my table. I got you. Don't worry.
I bring the snacks. Absolutely.
Oh man, how many people want to join into that table? 100%. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Could you tell me more about Sword and Spoon?
Absolutely. So me and my wife are the ones who are starting the Sword and Spoon network. It's an actual play network where we're going to be featuring two shows. A currently untitled actual play podcast. That's what we're here to talk about today. And then a show called Two's a Party, which is a TTRPG commentary podcast, sort of like this, where I talk to people in the TTRPG professional space.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's great. Yes, we need more exposure. We definitely need more people being the microphone. That's incredible. So it for your actual play, Sword and Spoon, it is currently in the works.
It is.
Yeah.
We got the idea back in like early 2021 to try to start Sword and Spoon, and couldn't really get anything off the ground with how busy our schedules are. I'm full-time in grad school and work two jobs. My wife was a professional in the IT space. So we waited for a little bit and decided about 3 months back, let's try to get this off the ground again. And it's been going great so far.
Awesome. In terms of the sort of the party you're getting together and sort of getting the organization of players, how did you find your players? How many players are you getting into the currently untitled actual play?
So we are planning on having a table of 5, and I say planning on because we're still in actually the auditions phase of our program. There's a Google form up on all of my socials right now that is pushing people towards auditioning with us. So we hope in the 667 people that have currently auditioned.
Wow. They want the bakes, They
yes.
want all. No, but that's a great list to go through. Wow.
It's been fantastic. My original plan was, I'm going to wait until auditions are closed and go through all of these. And then we just started getting more and more forms. So I've been sitting down and going through about 50 a day so far. And I've managed to catch up to all 667.
That's appreciative. The diligence. 100%.
So we want to narrow that down to 50 people for me to do one-on-one interviews with.
Right. Yeah.
At the moment where our current, the list of yeses is currently sitting over 50, so we still have more whittling to do. But 50 people to do one-on-one interviews with, and then eventually 20 people to do test tables with. So I will be running the same one shot about 6 times.
When you were building Sword and Spoon, did this concept evolve from like a pre-existing table, like from like a home game, or was this something that you sat down, you were like, you know what? This is a solid idea. Let's just build an actual play channel.
This was more the latter. So our original plan was for me and Bailey to do like a GM-less version of Dungeons and Dragons, which it didn't end up working very well on audio. We were like, that's what Two's a Party originally was this actual play. And I was like, why don't we just take it and separate the two ideas? I was like, we have a really good world that we've built here or have started to build here and some really good ideas. And we have a really good name for a podcast that we can give a lot of people a platform for. Why don't we just make it 2 different things?
Could you break down because maybe I missed it. What's the meaning behind Sword and Spoon?
Sword and Spoon is a name that Bailey came up with at between 13 and 15 years old, playing Game Dev Tycoon.
Oh, okay. All right.
So she was like, if we ever make a company or a brand or something, we need to use Sword and Spoon. And the most often question we get asked is, who is the sword and who's the spoon? So we had to come up with an answer. I'm the spoon, she's the sword. I like to think it's because I like to bake.
Oh, I get it. That's clever. Okay. Oh, I see where you're setting in. It's funny when it comes to TTRPGs in general. I think definitely within the TTRPG industry and community, we're all creative types. It's kind of hard to avoid it. We're role playing, we're voice acting, we're writing, we're storytelling, and then you add on this sort of extra layer because you've kind of went out and we're like, you know what, we're going to add that extra layer in the very top of it, which is content creation. Kind of recording, editing the whole deal. Obviously, you were very interested in TTRPGs, but was content creation always the plan? Were you always interested in content creation?
Not always. I'm more interested in collaborative storytelling than anything else. Part of what I really liked about building Sword and Spoon from the ground up is that giving people the opportunity to kind of get a window into what it looks like to build something like this from the ground up. Which is part of the reason why we wanted to do open auditions. I want to find a table that loves collaborative storytelling as much as I do, that wants to get together and give a story to a larger community. And that's been something that we've been really looking for through the auditions process. Because the most important part of this for me is building collaboratively together.
So it sounds like you had sort of this heavier focus on just the story and tabletop. So what is your history in tabletop role playing?
I started TTRPGs when I was about 16 years old. I grew up in a very conservative Christian household that it took me literally a year to convince my parents, like, this is something I want to go. I want to go to my friend's house. Yep, yeah. Absolutely. Very, very stuck in the 80s. I was like, I want to go to my friend's house. I want to play this game. My friend Stevie was running GMing a table at the time and had a spot open up. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. Ended up playing in that game for 3 sessions. And then nothing more. Scheduling conflicts kind of fell through. But 2020 hit and I got back into the hobby. I started listening to a lot of actual play media, which is part of the reason why I want to create my own, because I've been so inspired by a lot of the actual plays that I've listened to. And slowly snowballed from there into getting back into playing myself. So having this special place in my heart for actual plays for TTRPGs is kind of where I'm coming from at this.
You mentioned that you started at a very young age, 16.
Mm-hmm.
Did you graduate eventually from the player seat to a GM seat between that time from then and here?
I have only GM'd for about 6 months.
We need that. Yes. Fresh GM eyes within the site and the internet is very well needed. That's exciting.
Yeah, I have a home game right now. All of them are super supportive of this endeavor of ours where they're like, we absolutely want to see you succeed at this. And they're a lot of my test table for things. So I bring ideas to them in our home game and I'm like, hey, does this work? Does this not work? Give me some feedback. And I hope to continue that into the very beginnings of production as well.
Fresh GM eyes, I've noticed, have always given me the most chaotic and entertaining and the most the type of stories that linger and don't go away. That's exciting. I cannot wait to see what you bring to this. When it comes to your actual table as you're currently building this out, what is your views on is there I know there are rules for a lot of there are those sort of common rules we see in communities and tabletop, which is obviously no isms. You can't have no racism, no sexism, the whole deal. Obviously really important, as well as safety tools. And there are also, you look at the other spectrum of rules in D&D. Sometimes you could be flexible. Is there a rule at your table that is written in stone, cannot be shaken?
Ooh, that's a good question. I wouldn't say. I think the answer is no. Other than making sure everyone feels safe in what is happening. Which, again, as you mentioned, lines and veils, safety tools, incredibly important at any table. I'm the kind of GM where if you look at me and say, hey, this is the thing I want to do, I can tell you, hey, let's find a way to do that makes sense. I want the world to feel like it has internal consistency, but that doesn't mean we can't try to make something work.
Heck yeah. In a world of magic and monks flying 30 feet in the air, sometimes you can be a little supernatural. A little bit of disbelief can happen.
Exactly.
While you're currently building Sword and Spoon, what is currently the hardest part of building it?
The hardest part is definitely the fact that I don't have everyone on the team yet. We've been really open about wanting creative collaborators, people to help with the world building process if that's something that they would like to help us with. And that means that I've kind of put my world building on the back burner while we're in the auditions process, which is frustrating sometimes for me because I really have like that creative itch to just kind of move on that. But the hardest part has definitely been the fact that I can't look at people and be like, this is the whole structured world and what you're going to be building in, because we're going to be building it together.
Nice. I think that is something that a lot of new GMs need to hear, because you're already on the right track, is when you're building a world, build it with your players. You know, I appreciate that a lot. Not to say that it works for every team. I'm not going to discredit anyone who goes, no, I already built 7 years of this world and now people can jump in. That works too. But I always love it when people's backstories are integrated into a world.
Same.
I think that's really awesome. So are you grabbing a module and kind of working with that, or are you creating everything from scratch?
Everything is from scratch. Right now I've got some basic concepts in a journal. I've got the beginnings of a pantheon. I've got a world map that we've shared on my TikTok, and that's kind of what we're going from.
Would you feel comfortable sharing, like, let's say Pantheon, would you be comfortable sharing like a little tidbit of a god?
Yeah, so our Pantheon is smaller than the D&D Pantheon. I wanted something that would be a little bit easier for the players to kind of remember and work with.
Something
especially
digestible.
Exactly, and I want it to be a pretty big part of the world, so I was like, let's make it something they can, like, truly feel integrated with. Our primary god is the god of creation. He's currently unnamed, but he is the god. It is one of the biggest areas in the world is a principality where magic is illegal, and this god is the primary god of worship in that area.
That's incredible. Can I give you a god? You don't have to
Absolutely.
use it. You don't have to use it.
Yeah.
I created a god when I was a part of a company that was part of our content plan was just making stuff and giving it to the community. And it kind of went on deaf ears, and I was like, oh, it's really fun. I had this concept of a god, goddess of a hearth, like the hearth goddess, because the only time you ever, especially in D&D, where you have a fireplace or a campfire, the reason you have it is that people can come together and be a community. So it was like a goddess of community that was represented by a hearth, and you would worship it by lighting it, and you would have to share the warmth with people around you.
Oh, that is so cool. I like that so much, actually.
Yeah, and clerics who worship this goddess, they always have a tinderbox that is always able to light, no matter what condition it's in.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, a little small thing.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I love this. I love workshopping ideas and having sort of this even with you built already, sort of like this goddess creation or god of creation is really fun. When it comes to running your games, I know currently it's still in the works, but for the games you have ran, what do you think is the best, your own opinion, the perfect length of a session, like hour-wise?
So that's one of my frustrations with the games I'm running right now. I run them very late. We're in Eastern Standard Time. We don't start until 9 p.m. and we play on Mondays. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So most of my sessions, I've prepared about 2 to 3 hours of content, which is short. It's short for me. I prefer about a 4-hour session. I think having the ability to get through a combat and still have roleplay in a session is really important to me. And right now when I'm running a combat, that is the entire session. So my goal would be to eventually, if we can get all of our schedules to work out, to kind of walk that back a little bit so I can prepare about 4 hours of content. But I've had my players tell me, hey, you managed to get a lot done in 2 hours. And if it feels cohesive and it feels like the party's doing something together, 2 hours is also really good.
Yeah. I think there is this interesting thing. I think you're on the right track too, because 4 hours, especially from the GM side behind the screen, it feels like you're able to get almost like an epic out in one. Like someone can sit down, watch this 4-hour thing, and they experience 7 different emotions.
Yes.
But I've also heard other people kind of go on the opposite end. They're like, well, 2 hours is great because sometimes people don't have 4 hours to sit down. So, 3 hours is good because sometimes, they're working out or they're taking a walk or they're washing dishes and they have you in the ear, So I think 3-4 hours of what you're kind of going after, I think is a perfect little medium to have both a really good experience but something that can be digested in maybe 1 or 2 sittings.
And we've talked about doing 2-hour long episodes, but a 4-hour recording session, so we
That's
kind of have a
smart.
backlog.
Yeah.
That way the session doesn't feel short, but it's a little bit more digestible for the audience.
That's real smart. I know you've done a GMing between. I know you have, because you said you've kind of done some small amount of it. Do you have a particular like storytelling preference? And I'll go into detail. I've seen some GMs when they tell stories, especially long form, it's either like in arcs, like there's like each arc is like a chunk of episodes, or there's one continuous stream like a line, or there's like the very rare but easy to contain like mission to mission like Monsters of the Week situation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preferred way of doing storytelling?
I do, and I have a way that I'm planning on implementing it for this podcast specifically. So I'm taking a lot of inspiration from very specifically Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
That's a cut no one talks about. What?
I love Deep Space Nine. It's my favorite Star Trek. So I want to have a 3-act structure. Where we are doing one major mission per act. And I have these 3 acts in my head already, which I'm not going to share because it would be major spoilers for the campaign. Yeah. But I'm very attached to the idea of having the feeling of an ensemble cast within that. So exploring character backstory, exploring NPCs, exploring the world within that larger 3-act structure.
So you kind of married two concepts, like mission to mission, but keeping it kind of a flow where there's enough room between each mission that it feels like an arc.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's real cool. When it comes to prep time, could you walk me through like what is your preferred way of prep? Is it like writing everything down? Is it bullet points? How do you plan for your next session?
Definitely bullet points. I like to walk in having a word picture either in my head or written down in entirety, so I can walk into a session and be like, here is what you're looking at, and go. But other than that, having just kind of the idea of here's the beats we want to hit, let's see what the players do with that, is kind of where I'm coming from at any session.
So we know we've kind of already established that you've obviously had a little taste of tabletop when you were young, and then you kind of went back into it I think you said in 2020. When you were doing that, what did you mention that you were a player in that point, or were you a GM?
In 2020, I was neither. I was mostly consuming actual play content and looking for a table.
Right.
When we actually, me and my wife met in 2020, and when we actually got back into Dungeons & Dragons together, she was the GM and I was the player, and that's a table that's still, it's on hiatus, but still is running. And that was my first foray into what I call like my first very serious character, where I was like, okay, I'm not a teenager anymore. I really understand how this hobby works, and I really want to get into this.
Are you the player, and I know for at least your experience here, are you the type of player that you go, great, I'm playing a barbarian who is a fire Jossie, all red. Do you go out and buy like red colored dye to match the theme and feel of your character?
Not that, but I always have dice prepared for each character. So
you got it set. You're like, okay, next time I'm playing a water base, I can pull blue.
Exactly. Or if in the case of the character that I was just talking about at the table my wife runs, I have like 3 or 4 very specific dice sets that I use for Perry, and that's all I use for him.
Could you the character's named Perry. Could you tell me more about it?
Yeah, his name is Peregrine, Perry for short. He grew up in what he did not perceive as, but what was a cult of Lathander, that was skewed towards finding the Rod of Lathander. If you know anything about like the D&D mythos, the Rod of Lathander was a weapon that was wielded in order to save a town from the Shadowfell, and then it was stolen from the Spires of the Morning and lost to time. So Perry's cult, having been the ones who stole the Rod originally, were skewed towards going out to find the rod in this never-ending cycle. And eventually, the big bad evil guy of my wife's campaign, called the Harbinger, who messes with time and memory, started messing with Perry's cult and burned it to the ground. So he has to go out and figure out where the rod is, and try to take down the Harbinger.
As you're running this new actual play in this world that you're GMing, do you think is it hard to not find moments where you can kind of splice in characters you played or NPCs you've interacted in games you were a player?
Not even is it hard, it's nearly impossible, and I'm not going to try not to.
You know what? Respect. 100%.
I've got so many good characters that I've built over such a long period of time that can very easily take a step back from being a PC into an NPC role that I've started taking their sheets and editing them to be NPCs at this point. So a lot of the characters that I've played or I've workshopped over the years will make an appearance in the podcast.
There you go. Now we've heard it first. I know I'm in the same boat. There's those times where you play as a player and you're like, I like this character. I do. And you hold on to them for a while. And the moment you're actually able to sit down in the GM chair and tell a story, it's like, well, he's over here now. And it's kind of hard not to. I think it's very much of a testament that as a GM, you get so attached to these characters no matter what, and it's kind of hard not to just put Easter eggs somewhere.
Absolutely. And especially if you're so emotionally attached to something, there's a really good chance that that's going to come across to your players.
100%. What type of media or content do you consume that kind of influences your storytelling?
Lord of the Rings is the first one I always list to people. I love a classic high fantasy going on an adventure fellowship style thing. Other than that, I've listed Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is, again, my favorite Star Trek, but a lot of the 80s to early 2000s Star Trek really inspires me for a lot of the political messaging, the character motivations, and the ensemble cast. And then a lot of other actual plays. We're not a comedy podcast, but the McElroy brothers and the Adventure Zone were what got me back into the hobby, and they still hold a really special place in my heart. As well as Critical Role, and then some smaller ones. I just started Spare the Crying, which is an indie TTRPG podcast that has given me a lot of inspiration recently.
McElroys are the only reason why anytime someone says kid detective, I can't take it seriously. I blame them for that. And I appreciate the laughs. I just cannot take kids stuff. Anytime I hear kid detective, I'm like, no.
Nope.
Let's not go down that route. You've zero attention on me. Well, I love it. For the character, I know because you're currently still building your world. Could you at least share what your world is like? What does the continent look like?
If you'd like, I can give you a map to share when we go to put this out on your guys' platform, because I do have an official map.
Hell yeah. A future me, edit somewhere.
Slice it right in.
It'll be in the blog.
A lot of people have said the rightmost continent looks like a dragon's head, which wasn't intentional, but we're running with it because it's very cool. And then the leftmost continent is actually where we're going to be playing. The biggest feature of that continent is a spot up in the top left corner that we call the Scar. It's what looks like a series of islands, but what is actually a series of mines and pits. That a rare material that holds raw magic is being mined out of.
Oh, so much opportunity for that. Oh man. It's funny how I think great minds on that aspect. I have a place in my world that's called the Impact, which is not as interesting as a mine that can be discovered and that actually has intertwined probably different locales that feel very complex. Mine was very simple of an asteroid hit the floor and magic.
To be clear, the most simple things can sometimes be the best plot hooks, though. That's awesome.
Yeah. Incredible. Is there? I'll say this before for your game that you're currently building. How much are you the type of person who's fully involved of helping players build their backstories, or are you hey, give me a rough draft and I'll find a place to put you?
Somewhere in between. So when we go to work with the table that we will eventually have, I'm very open to here's a rough draft of a backstory, and then I want to sit down and have a conversation. Here's how we can expand this, or here's
nice.
little things that we can work in for the world, or vice versa, because I am totally open to the players having a say in what's going on in the world as well. So I really hope for it to be like a very collaborative storytelling moment between me and this other person that potentially could turn into a like recorded bonus content type thing down the road.
Oh, cool. This is a very hard question because I think even veteran GMs have, this is something that's very flexible, but very interesting to talk about nonetheless. Do you see like an end to the story? Do you feel like this story that you're telling with Sword and Spoon is going to be like a year-long campaign? Is it a multi-year campaign?
I don't know. So part of that is not knowing how we're going to be doing recordings yet. Like I said, we bounced around the idea of doing 4-hour sessions, but 2-hour episodes. So like two episodes out of every recording session. And part of that is not knowing how long the actual arcs are going to be yet, because I don't have character backstories. So I have no idea if I'm going to get backstories where I can like, a lot of the resolutions happen in arc 1 and then arcs 2 and 3 are just them going out into the world, or if it's going to be like a character gives me a backstory that absolutely goes all the way through arc 3. So I have no idea yet.
Is there a tip you can give to new GMs right now who are interested in creating an actual play?
Be bold enough to say what you want to do and share it with the world. The biggest thing that we've gotten, because I didn't expect to get as much traction as we've gotten this quickly. I've never been in the TTRPG actual play space. We have some friends who are, but nothing I've done publicly. So we made a Discord server to start this off, and we're like, we will gather some community here. We'll see how many people are interested in auditioning. That currently has about 1,200 people in it. And wow. Like I said, about 667 auditions last I checked before we got on this call. So people are interested in hearing what you have to do and what you have to say. You just have to be bold enough to go out into the world.
I think that's hitting everything on the nail on the hammer right there. It's such an interesting concept when you think of the tabletop industry. There are like 5, if you look at the ratio between players and GMs, like there's 1 GM to every 10 players.
Yeah.
And it's so telling too. And again, there's always those outliers. I'm not going to defend everything that this industry does, but generally most people within the tabletop community, when you are going, I'm a GM and I want to tell a story with you all, people go, yes, jump in. And there's a lot of positivity behind it.
Absolutely.
Oh man. Well, I think I'll end this a little bit with this last question. Is I know you're currently in the midst of things. You're currently still interviewing people, but having a rough estimate, when do you think people can find and start watching Sword and Spoon?
Early 2027.
Let's go. You have a date. Nice.
We have a date. Our hope is January 2027 at a hard date, but that will become more clear as we get through this process. But at the very least, we will be out by next year.
Very cool. And I'm assuming, where can people keep up to date with your process?
We are Sword and Spoon, or at Sword and Spoon everywhere except Instagram, where we are at Sword and Spoon Network. And I personally am at Van Caldwin everywhere that you can find us on social media.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Sullivan, for joining me today. And for everyone here watching, please keep an ear and eye out and join the socials just mentioned. Can't wait to see what has blossomed as you start to grow the actual play channel.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone. Bye.